guided by the sounds of the city. An infant's cry from a tenement across the street. He took a step. Laughter from several floors below his ledge. He straightened as he reached the window that was his goal. A muffled cry and the sounds of a scuffle from an alley a block away. He paused, listening and frowning. But the disturbance ended as sandals pattered on the cobblestones, fading into the distance, and he relaxed. When the love cries of the young couple next door floated past on a breeze, he slipped through the curtains into the room beyond. The bedchamber, a study in worn elegance. The priest's eyes made out graceful chairs upholstered in fraying fabrics, and wood furnishings gone dull for lack of polish. Reaching the bed, he took care to avoid shadowing the face of the person who slept there. But the old man's eyes opened anyhow, blinking rheumily in the thin light. "As I thought," said the old man, whose name was Ehiru. His hoarse voice grated against the silence. "Which one are you?" "Ehiru," said the priest. His voice was as soft and deep as the bedchamber's shadows, named Ensha in dreams. The old man's eyes widened in surprise and pleasure. "So that is the rose's soul name. To whom do I owe this honor?" Ehiru let out a slow breath. It was always more difficult to bestow peace once a tithe-bearer had been awakened and frightened. That was why the law commanded gatherers to enter dwellings in stealth. But Ehiru was not afraid, Ehiru saw at once, so he chose to answer the old man's question, though he preferred to do his work without conversation. "Your eldest son submitted the commission on your behalf," he said. From the hip strap of his loin skirt, he plucked free the jungisa, a thumb-long polished stone like dark glass, which had been carved into the likeness of a cicada. Ieyesu's eyes tracked the jungisa as Ehiru raised it. The stones were legend for their rarity as well as their power, and few of Hananja's faithful ever saw one. It was considered and accepted by the Council of Paths, then given to me to carry out. The old man nodded, lifting a trembling hand toward the jungisa. Ehiru lowered the stone so that Ieyesu could run fingers over its slick, fine-carved wings, though he kept a good grip on its body. Jungisa were too sacred for carelessness. Ieyesu's wonder made him look much younger. Ehiru could not help smiling at this. "She has tasted many of your dreams, Ieyesu elder," he said, very gently drawing the jungisa out of the old man's reach so he would hear Ehiru's words. Ieyesu sighed but lowered his hand. "She has drunk deeply of your hopes and fears. Now she bids you join her in Inakarek. Will you grant her this final offering?" "Gladly," Ieyesu said, and closed his eyes. So Ehiru bent and kissed the old man's forehead. Fevered skin, delicate as papyrus, smoothed under his lips. When he pulled away and set the jungisa in place of his kiss, the stone quivered at a flick of his fingernail, and then settled into a barely visible vibration. Ieyesu sagged into sleep, and Ehiru laid his fingertips on the old man's eyelids to begin. In the relative quiet of the city's evening, the room sounded only of breath, first Ehiru's and Ieyesu's, then Ehiru's alone. Amid the new silence, for the jungisa had stopped vibrating with the dream's end, Ehiru stood for a few moments, letting the languor of the newly collected dream blood spread within him. When he judged the moment right, he drew another ornament from his hip, this one a small hemisphere of obsidian, whose flat face had been embossed with an oasis rose, the crevices tamped full of powdered ink. He pressed the carving carefully into the skin of Ieyesu's bony, still chest, setting his signature upon the artwork of flesh. The smile that lingered on the elder's cooling lips was even more beautiful. "Dreams of joy always, my friend," he whispered, before pulling away the sheet and arranging Ieyesu's lips.